Part 4. Anjin Ketsu Josho. How can we accept the great faith of the other power? In Vasubandhu's discourse on the Pure Land it says, "The great congregation of sages, in the form of pure blossoms, surrounding the Buddha, are born there, having been transformed, from within the flower of enlightenment. Those who have attained the great faith of the other power, are called pure blossom sages, for they will all alike be born, from within the flower of enlightenment." The flower of enlightenment corresponds to the spiritual lotus flower that grows from Amida's great compassion, by which he entered that enlightenment. Called the unity of rescued and rescuer, when all living beings in the universe had their vows and practices fulfilled by him. As Bodhisattva Dharmakara, Amida pledged the Pure Land birth of all of them, and vowed he would not enter enlightenment, unless they were all born there. The same thing is taught, in the 7th meditation section of the Meditation Sutra, as the way to be free of pain and suffering. It is also shown in the lowest birth of the lowest grade section, as lotus flowers that welcome those who have committed the 5 gravest offenses. The Buddha's mind is likened to a lotus flower, because it is never besmirched with the muddy defilements of ordinary beings' earthly desires and passions. How does the lotus flower birth of the Buddha's mind come about? In his explanation of this passage, Tan Luan says, "They are all born by the same Nembutsu, and not by any other path." He also says, "Those who inhabit the world, even the remotest place, throughout the whole extent of time are all brothers and sisters. We differ morally, being separable into 9 grades. But we do not differ in respect of relying on Amida's vow and practice, and so, we are all united in enlightenment." Therefore, Dan Luan says, "They are all born by the same Nembutsu, and not by any other path." Those who have reached Pure Land birth before this, have gone there by relying on the vow and practice of other power, and those who will be so born, after this, will go there by taking refuge in the one thought of Amida's enlightenment. They all arrive within the lotus flower of Amida's mind and heart. For this reason, it is said, all the sentient beings in the whole world are brothers and sisters. Those who see the Buddha's body, also see with reverence the Buddha's mind and heart, which is none other than his compassion. With pity, Amida fixes his attention on us, so that his mind and heart penetrates as deep as the marrow of our bones and stays there. It is like a piece of charcoal that has caught fire. We cannot pluck the fire from the burning charcoal, however much we try. The embracing light of his mind and heart shines on us, right through to the core of our flesh and bones. Even though it is contaminated with the 3 poisons of greed, hatred and illusion, and with every other defiling passion and anxiety, there is no region of our heart that is not saturated with the Buddha's virtue. Thus, the Buddha and sentient beings are constitutionally one body, from the very beginning. This state of affairs is called Namu Amida Butsu. Once this faith is awakened, anyone who says the Nembutsu only once in a while, has to be called a person of constant Nembutsu. Shantao says the same thing, in his commentary on the Meditation Sutra, in the section on the 3 relationships with Amida. When sentient beings always say the Buddha's name, and always worship him with the body. When we trust in the virtue of Amida's threefold activity, bodily, oral and volitional, our own threefold activity is united with Amida's wisdom, and the virtues Amida has amassed over many eons are exhibited in our bodily, oral and volitional activities. Furthermore, in China during the Tang dynasty, there lived a much respected man called Fu, a great teacher who excelled in Mahayana, as well as in non-Buddhist scriptures. He used to say, "Every morning the Buddha and I rise together, and every night I sleep with the Buddha in my arms." When he said, the Buddha, he meant Tathagata, the noumenal Buddha, which is commonly discussed in the Holy Path teachings. However, from the viewpoint of the attainment of perfection by practices, exactly the same thing can also be said. Aspirants feel the same way, once they are protected by the embracing light of Amida's mind and heart. They rise each morning hand in hand with Amida's virtues and retire each night embracing his wisdom. How can we take advantage of the virtues of those Buddhas, mentioned in other sutras, who are not close to us? The noumenal virtues of Tathagata, the Dharma nature, lie close at hand. But we who have no wisdom and intelligence, cannot find a way to profit by them. It is a great pity that we vainly go back to our own ground, where we have to repeat the round of mortality, bound hand and foot by the unreasoned illusion of self-power, in spite of our having long been rescued by other power. Amida's vow and practice within us, that ensures our enlightenment and our pure land birth without self-power. How sorry Shakyamuni Buddha would feel that his 8,000 comings and goings were to no avail, and how saddened Amida Buddha would be to find no trace of the effects of his long and earnest efforts to enlighten us, we who were so difficult to teach. Even if only one person comes to believe in this marvelous vow and practice, it is a real repayment of the Buddha's kindness. And so it says in Tao Chozan Rakushu, "Since there has already been established the way of other power, that we can make use of, we should stop thinking of staying in our burning house, and clinging foolishly to self-power." How true this is, in teaching that we should renounce the false claims of boastful self-power and instead trust in other power. Shantao explains, "We should make sure that we leave this misleading path and return home." Also, he says, "Now I'll leave. I don't feel like staying in this treacherous, evil place." Furthermore, in his Hojusan, Shantao says, "The land of ultimate bliss, nirvana, the realm of non-action, is difficult to reach, for those who rely on miscellaneous good deeds, performed according to different circumstances." Therefore, the Buddha presents us with the choice of the essential way and teaches us to recite Amida's name single-mindedly. The meaning of this passage is this: the land of ultimate bliss is the place of non-action, asamskara, and non-defilement, anasrava. And so miscellaneous good deeds performed according to different circumstances would probably not qualify us to be born there. We should take refuge in the Nembutsu samadhi of non-action and non-defilement and, thereby, seek to be born in the recompensed land of non-action and eternal life. Firstly, miscellaneous good deeds, performed according to different circumstances, denotes self-power practices. One who lacks a right understanding of Buddhism or awakens no faith may claim, through one's acquaintance with a monk of the Ritsu sect, that the precepts are the most precious thing in the world, or think that the esoteric practices of Shingon, performed even for the purpose of praying for some secular benefit, will serve to establish close relations with Buddhism, and so they are valuable. Practices such as these are good deeds, performed according to our own convenience and circumstances. Therefore, they are relegated to the position of miscellaneous good deeds. On this level of practice, the same might be said about the Nembutsu practice, that is, reciting the Nembutsu by self-power, might be equivalent to miscellaneous deeds, performed according to the practitioner's circumstances. People arbitrarily take the Nembutsu as follows. When one meditates on the principle and subordinate adornments of the Pure Land, and recites the name, the Nembutsu does exist. But it does not exist. when one does not meditate on or recite the name. The Nembutsu on this level of practice can scarcely be regarded as the Nembutsu of non-action and eternal life. If the Nembutsu exists only when we recite the name, and ceases to exist when we don't, then it is, after all, a Nembutsu of evanescence and vicissitude. The characters for non-action literally mean nothing to be done. Hinayana Buddhism speaks of three kinds of non-action. The non-action of space, which is one of the three, means that space neither passes away, nor is originated. It is naturally so. In Mahayana Buddhism, non-action is the everlasting, unchanging law, called suchness, dharma, nature, and so on. In the section explaining the title of the Genjabun, it is said, the Dharma body is everlasting just like space. Here the author intends to indicate the everlasting quality of the Pure Land. Therefore, the land of ultimate bliss is called the land of non-action and eternal life. Because it neither comes into being, nor disappears, by human agency. The Nembutsu Samadhi is the same as this. It does not appear, or disappear, according to whether or not sentient beings recite the Nembutsu. This should be considered carefully. Here ends Part 4. Stay tuned for Part 5. Single-mindedly thinking of Amida Buddha,